Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm 50 years old now. And looking back, so much has happened in my life. 10 years ago, I was married to Tom. And at the time, I believed we had a truly happy life together. We met in the most ordinary way on a bus. You know how people always say, good girls don't talk to strangers? Well, I guess I wasn't exactly a good girl that day. We started talking, and there was something about him that felt different. He had this calm, honest way about him that made me feel safe. Even though we had just met, we got along instantly. We laughed, shared little stories about our lives, and it felt natural to spend time together. Over months, our casual conversations turned into dates. A year later, we decided to get married. Back then, I was young, happy, and full of dreams. I cared about my appearance, always thinking about losing weight. Even though I wasn't overweight, Tom would tell me, "Stop worrying about diets. You're perfect the way you are." At first, I didn't understand. I thought he was just being polite, but over time, I realized he genuinely cared. Tom wasn't the type to constantly shower me with gifts or grand gestures. He wasn't bringing me flowers every week, and breakfast in bed was rare. One time, he brought me coffee in bed, but it spilled on my dress. I asked him not to do it again, and he didn't mind. Even though he wasn't flashy, his love was quiet, steady, and dependable. He worked hard, called me from work just to remind me to wear warm clothes in winter, and he was always there in the small ways that mattered. That was Tom's love, practical, genuine, and thoughtful. After we got married, life felt simple and comforting. Tom was a hard-working man with a quiet determination. In the beginning, he worked as a builder. Every day, he left early in the morning and came home tired, covered in dust and sweat. But no matter how exhausted he was, he always made sure to check in with me. Sometimes a simple phone call in the middle of the day. "Lisa, dress warmly. It's cold outside," was enough to make me feel loved. We had 2 sons, and from the start, Tom was committed to raising them well. He taught them respect, kindness, and responsibility. I watched him with pride as he guided them to become polite, considerate young men. Over the years, Tom's career grew steadily. First, he was promoted to a managerial position, and later, he had the courage to start his own company. It wasn't easy. He faced long hours, stressful decisions, and the pressure of building something from the ground up. Yet, he always made sure to balance work with family, never losing sight of what truly mattered. We built a home outside the city, surrounded by nature and quiet streets. Tom insisted that I didn't need to work outside the home. He said, "Lisa, focus on our home and the garden. That's your space, your sanctuary." And so I did. I found joy in little things: planting flowers, growing fruits and vegetables, tending to the garden. Watching life bloom in my hands gave me peace and a sense of accomplishment. Every morning I would water the plants, feel the soil between my fingers, and smile at how the garden thrived. It became my little world of happiness. Time passed and our sons grew up, each finding their own paths in life. Soon, they married, and we were blessed with a granddaughter, Emma. From the moment she arrived, she filled our home with laughter and light. Tom adored her. Watching him with Emma revealed a side of him that was tender and playful, and I could see the love he had for our family shining through every smile, every hug. Life was peaceful, balanced, and full of small joys. Our older son told us he was planning to bring Emma over for a weekend visit, something that immediately set off alarm bells in my mind. "I can't," he said quietly. "I have to work this weekend." I was taken aback. Tom was never someone to skip family time, especially when it came to Emma. "Why not? Why can't you come home even in the evening?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though a knot of worry was forming in my stomach. He hesitated, avoiding my eyes. Finally, he said, "Maybe. I'll stay at my father's house." Something about the way he said it felt off. I couldn't explain it, but a cold, sinking feeling spread through me. It was subtle, almost like a shadow brushing against my heart, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The next day, I couldn't shake the worry. I decided to drive to his office hoping to see him there and get answers. When I arrived, his car wasn't in the parking lot. I went inside and asked the security guard if Tom was around. "He's not here," the guard replied. Then, almost in a whisper, I heard the guard's wife say something to him. "Poor woman. Everyone knows, but she doesn't." Her words made me freeze. My heart skipped a beat. My hands felt cold and I felt this strange emptiness in my chest. I called Tom immediately, my voice trembling. "We need to talk, now." That day, a sense of dread settled over me. I didn't know it yet. That evening, Tom finally came home. I was waiting, my heart heavy with worry, my hands trembling slightly. I looked at him, searching his face for answers. "Tom, do you have another woman?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, but full of a mix of fear and anger. He looked down at his hands, then back at me, and said softly, almost regretfully, "Yes." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I felt the room spin. My heart shattered into pieces I didn't think could ever be fixed. I tried to steady myself and asked, "Are you leaving? Or should I leave?" I will leave," he replied, quietly and without argument. He began packing his things, methodically, as if trying to make the moment less painful. Then, without another word, he walked out the door. Just like that, my world collapsed. The life I thought I knew, the man I trusted, the family we had built together, it all felt like it had crumbled overnight. I collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, unable to stop the tears. The house felt empty, even though it was still full of memories. I felt alone, abandoned and lost. Later, our sons came to see me. They hugged me tightly and listened as I poured out the story. Every detail, every heartbreak. I told them through tears, "Your father left me, but he is still your father. You must respect him." The days that followed were heavy and lonely. Nights were even worse. Sleep eluded me. My appetite disappeared. I lost weight quickly, and my reflection in the mirror seemed like a stranger. I barely smiled, and the light in my eyes felt dimmed. Everything I had built for happiness, all the little joys of life, seemed gone. I was trapped in pain, grief, and confusion. For the first time, I realized how fragile life could be, and how quickly it could change. I felt completely broken, empty, and lost in the days after Tom left. My home felt like a hollow shell of memories, and I couldn't imagine ever feeling happy again. My sons tried to comfort me, but even their hugs couldn't heal the deep ache inside. Then one day, my friend Mary came over. She looked at me with those kind, knowing eyes and said gently, "Lisa, come with me. I want to show you something." I didn't know what she meant, but I trusted her. We drove to a children's hospital. As soon as we entered, I felt a different kind of heaviness. The children there were very sick, some battling cancer, some fighting other serious illnesses. They were fragile, pale, and tired. Yet despite their pain, they smiled. They laughed quietly. They found small joys even when life was cruel. Their mothers were there too, sitting by their bedsides, caring for them tirelessly. I watched one mother gently comb her child's hair while telling silly jokes to make her laugh. I saw resilience and love in a way I had never fully understood before. Mary whispered to me, "Look at these women, Lisa. Their problems are bigger, deeper and scarier than ours. They're fighting real battles, Your struggles, as painful as they feel, are smaller in comparison. Life hasn't ended for you. Her words cut through the fog in my mind. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of clarity. Something inside me shifted. That day, I made a choice. I began volunteering at the hospital, helping the children and their families. I found sponsors to cover treatments. I spent hours comforting parents, reading stories to children and simply being there. Slowly, life began to feel meaningful again. I felt joy in small victories. The first time a child smiled after treatment. The laughter of a mother relieved by good news. The grateful look in someone's eyes. Helping others brought back something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. For the first time since Tom left, I smiled again. Truly smiled. And for the first time in months, I felt alive. Life was still hard and my heart still carried pain. But I discovered that even in sorrow, there could be purpose. That purpose became my new reason to keep going. 10 years had passed since Tom left. A decade of quiet, of rebuilding, of learning to live with the memories of heartbreak. Life had moved on in some ways, yet the pain of betrayal never fully disappeared. It was Women's Day, and I had been waiting for my sons to visit me. I was in the living room, sipping tea and thinking about all that had changed over the years, when the door suddenly opened, and there he was, Tom. He looked older, his hair grayer, his face lined with fatigue and regret. He didn't look like the man I had once married, full of confidence and energy. He looked worn, tired and humbled. "Lisa," he said softly, almost a whisper. "Can I stay here?" My heart skipped a beat. I froze, unsure of what to say. All the emotions of the past decade, anger, hurt, betrayal, confusion flooded back at once. I looked at him, my voice shaky. "This is your house too." Tom walked in slowly, carefully, and sat down. His eyes were filled with remorse. He said, "I'm sorry, Lisa. Please, forgive me." I didn't know what to say. My mind was spinning. Part of me wanted to shut the door and never look back. Another part, a small part, remembered the man I had loved once, the man who had built a family with me. Later, my friend Mary told me what had happened. Tom's second marriage had fallen apart. His wife had lied to him. The child she claimed was not his. I was left with a mixture of emotions I couldn't untangle: anger, sorrow, confusion, pity. Could I forgive Tom? Could I ever trust him again? Every day, these questions circled in my mind. My heart was caught between the past and the possibility of a future that I didn't yet understand. That evening, Tom quietly moved into the guest room. He didn't push for forgiveness, didn't demand attention. He simply stayed, as if respecting the space he had broken years ago. I didn't know what he was thinking, and I wasn't sure how I felt either. The first night he stayed, I sat alone, reflecting on the past. It was a reminder that forgiveness isn't easy, and sometimes the heart has to be coaxed slowly back to trust. Tom stayed quietly in the guest room. He didn't ask for anything, didn't try to force forgiveness or attention. He just existed in the house we had once shared, and it was both comforting and painful at the same time. I wasn't sure what to feel. Seeing him quietly taking responsibility stirred a mix of emotions I couldn't name. I wasn't ready to forgive him, and yet, I couldn't ignore the fact that he had returned. I tried to focus on normal life. I cooked dinner as I usually did, moving through the motions, feeling his presence in the house like a shadow. When he sat at the table and said softly, "Lisa, the food smells amazing," I could feel the tension in my chest. I wanted to respond, but all I managed was a nod as I placed the plates in front of him. During the meal, he said, almost in a whisper, "I missed your cooking. No one cooks like you." I wanted to smile, but the hurt ran too deep. I answered softly, You made your choice, Tom. After dinner, I washed the dishes while he offered to help. I shook my head. No, I've got this, I said firmly. The next day, our sons came to visit. When they saw Tom, their expressions turned to shock and confusion. Dad? What are you doing here? They asked in unison. Tom looked down, shame and regret in his eyes. I made a mistake, he said quietly. I hurt your mother, now. I want to make it right. Peter, our older son, looked at me carefully and asked, Mom, are you okay with this? I hesitated, unsure how to answer. I don't know yet, I admitted honestly. Peter and Mark, our younger son, took me aside in another room. Mum, they said gently, you don't have to let him stay. We can take care of you. You don't have to go through this again. I nodded, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I need time to think, I whispered. That night I couldn't sleep. Memories of betrayal, of broken promises, of the life I had lost, haunted me. But at the same time, I thought of the man who had built our family, who had worked tirelessly to provide for us, who had once shown love in quiet, unwavering ways. Could people really change? Could I trust him again? The answers were unclear, and my heart felt torn between past pain and the possibility of hope. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of memories and emotions. Tom had hurt me deeply. He had shattered my trust, walked away from our marriage, and left me to face heartbreak alone. And yet, part of me remembered the man he had once been, the father who had raised our sons, the man who had built a home and a life for us, the quiet love he had shown in small, meaningful ways. I asked myself, over and over, can people truly change? Can someone who has broken your heart earn your trust again? Is forgiveness possible, or is it just a dream too difficult to reach? The next morning, I noticed Tom outside in the garden. He was fixing the fence, moving slowly, methodically, with the same quiet determination I had always admired in him. His hair had grayed. His movements weren't as quick as they once were, but the care he put into his work was evident. Every nail he hammered, every plank he straightened, seemed like a small act of redemption. I stepped outside, feeling the cool morning air brush against my face. Tom, you don't have to do this, I said softly. He looked up at me, calm but sincere. I want to help, he said. This is still my family, Lisa. I want to be part of it. Even if you don't forgive me yet. I didn't respond. I simply walked back inside, my heart heavy but also curious. Could he really change? Could he really mean it this time? A few days later, Emma, our granddaughter, came to visit. The moment she saw Tom, her face lit up. She ran to him without hesitation, wrapping her little arms around him. Grandpa, she shouted, holding him tight. For the first time in years, I saw Tom smile genuinely. His eyes softened, and I realized that despite everything, there was still love in our family, small, fragile, but real. Emma then turned to me, her eyes shining with innocence. Grandma, Grandpa said he missed me. Can we all go to the park together? I hesitated, my heart conflicted. I didn't want to say yes, but Emma pleaded. Please, Grandma. It'll be fun. How could I refuse her? Reluctantly, I agreed. At the park, I watched Emma play on the swings while Tom and I sat on a bench. The air was filled with laughter and sunlight, a stark contrast to the tension and pain that had filled our home for so long. Thank you for letting me come back, Lisa, he said quietly. I replied cautiously, I haven't decided yet, Tom. He nodded, understanding. I will wait, he said. And for the first time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, healing was possible. Days turned into weeks. Tom continued staying in the guest room, quietly, without demanding anything from me. He didn't push for attention or forgiveness. Instead, he focused on small, practical ways to help around the house, fixing broken furniture, tending the garden, making sure everything was in order. Watching him, I felt a mix of emotions. Anger and hurt were still there, simmering beneath the surface. But slowly, I started noticing the effort he was putting in. He wasn't just physically present. He was trying to rebuild trust, one small action at a time. One afternoon, Mary came to visit. She looked at me and asked gently, "Lisa, are you okay with Tom being here?" I shrugged, unsure how to answer. "I don't know. I feel angry, but I also feel sorry for him," I admitted. Mary nodded. "You don't have to forgive him right away. But maybe this is a chance for both of you to heal. Sometimes, time and small gestures can do more than words ever could." That night, I reflected on Mary's words. Maybe she was right. Maybe healing wasn't about rushing forgiveness, but about observing change, feeling trust slowly return, and letting the heart decide when it was ready. The next morning, I made breakfast and called Tom to the table. I felt nervous, my hands shaking slightly as I spoke. "Tom, let's talk," I said. He sat down, looking nervous too, his eyes searching mine. "I don't know if I can forgive you completely," I admitted, "but I want to try." Tears welled up in his eyes. "Thank you, Lisa," he whispered. "I will do everything I can to make it right. I promise." Over the next days and weeks, we started spending more time together, but through his actions, helping around the house, caring for the garden, being present for Emma, and quietly respecting my space. "I will forgive you, but it will take time." "I will, Lisa. I promise," he said, his voice steady and sincere. Slowly, very slowly, things began to shift. We started laughing together again, sharing moments of quiet joy. 12:23. The journey continues. Forgiveness is never easy. It takes time, patience, and courage. He helps in ways big and small, fixing things around the house, and quietly showing he wants to be part of our family again. For me, the hardest part is letting go of the hurt. The memories of betrayal and heartbreak are still there, like shadows that linger in the corners of my mind. Some days they feel heavy, almost unbearable. But at the same time, steadfast ways. There is a fragile thread connecting us again, a thread that carries hope. I don't know if we will ever be completely whole again, but I do know this. Healing is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and an open heart. Lisa's story is full of emotions, challenges, and difficult choices. She faced betrayal, heartbreak, and loneliness. Yet she found purpose, hope, and the strength to consider forgiveness.